If it was in the exam, you would have looked at all the data. Remember what I said previously. Look what the question gives. You cannot skip the information and go directly to the questions. Then you will not be able to answer them. And then you will often find that you are answering questions that are not relevant. So please make the time in the exam. Study the information that they give. Make sure that you are aware of what happens with the information. Now we can go to our first question. Number 1. By how much did the price of chicken change from January 2008 to February 2008? Now let us go to the chicken. A 2 kilogram chicken was in January 28 Rand 23 and in February 24 Rand 92. Now the question didn't ask the inflation rate, but I want to show you that it can be calculated. I'm going to answer this question, but also calculate the inflation rate. Now to do so, I will show you the inflation rate. Sorry, it's upside down. Can you please fix it for us? Right, the inflation, the price of the chicken. If we quickly look at the first price of the first price in, I'm going to write it here, January 2008, and the price of it was in February 2008. In January it was 28 Rand 23, and in February it was 24 Rand 92. So what is the first thing that you noticed? From 28 to 24, what happened? There was a decrease. So yes, the price of the chicken came down. So that was the first question. Question 1 asked, by how much did the price of the chicken change? So it will be 28 Rand 23 minus the 24 Rand 92, and if I subtract that, it gives you 3 Rand 31. That is by how much it decreased. But I asked you, we must also be able to calculate the inflation rate. And I want to show you how I calculate the inflation rate. What is the first thing that I have to write down? Is of course my formula. So I start with my formula. Inflation rate is equals to the increase. But in this instance, it's not an increase, but a decrease. So we write it is the decrease in the price over the initial price multiplied by 100%. There's my formula. When I'm working with a formula, my second rule is always to substitute. The decrease I've already calculated, but I can still do it by saying it is the 24 Rand 92 minus the 28 Rand. Now you're going to ask me, but why do I do that? Because if I look at my original formula, it said the increase, and it's usually the new price minus the old price. I'm going to put it here in brackets. If you look at many question papers, they also give you these terms. New price minus the old price over the old price. You can go look this up and you will find that often they refer to those terms as well. So to find the decrease, it is the new price minus the old price over the initial price, which was 28 Rand 23. It's a percentage we're calculating, so we multiply by 100%. Now when I simplify it, it gives you minus 3 Rand 31 over 28 Rand 23, multiply by 100%. And if I simplify it, it gives you minus 11,7%. Now, what is important about that final answer? What did we say? It is not deflation that causes prices to drop. It is only when the inflation rate is negative that prices decrease. So in this instance, the inflation rate of the chicken was minus 11,7%. And that is why the price decreased from 28 Rand 23 to 24 Rand 92. Right, let us have a look at another possible question. If the inflation rate from February 2008 to March 2008 was 1,6%, determine how much Solly might have paid for a 12,5 kilogram packet of flour in March 2008. What must I go find first? I have to go look for the flour. There, I've marked it for you. Flour, 12,5 kilogram. January, it was 64 Rand 72. February, it was 72 Rand 24. But now, the flour's inflation rate was 1,6%. Do you notice something? In the beginning, when I said the basket of 1,500 goods is used to determine the inflation rate, I mentioned to you that not all products have the same difference in price. And that's why they work with an average rate of inflation. In this one question, we are working with two different inflation rates, of which the first one was a negative inflation rate, which caused the drop in the price. Now, with the flour, it has a positive inflation rate of 1,6. So, it already shows you that the per item, the inflation rate is not the same. And that's why the average is used. But let us go and calculate this one to see how it will be calculated. It is very similar to the one of the house, where we had now the price of the flour. Just write here what we are working with now. The flour's price in February was 72 Rand and 24 cents. Now they say the inflation rate is 1,6%. So it's similar to the house. Now remember, there are two possible ways to calculate it. I can say either it is the 100% of the price plus the 1,6%, which is equals to 101,6%. And then I can say it is the 72 Rand 24 multiply by 101,6%. And if I take my calculator, I will say 72,24 multiply by 101,6, because it's percent, divide by 100, and that gives me the answer of 73 Rand. And now be careful for the rounding. I'm going to write all the digits down and just remind you of how to round. Remember, it's money, but in any case, we only round to 2 decimals. And then I look at the one next door. If it is 5 or more, it's going to change that one. So if I round it, it becomes a 0 and a 4. So the new price will be 73 Rand and 40 cents. And that's the new price of the flour. Remember, the alternative method is to first calculate the 1,6% and then to remember to add it to the 72 Rand 24. Right, so now you have done both an example, I'll just show them to you again, of calculating the change in the product, of calculating the inflation rate, but be careful when there's a decrease. Always remember it's the new price minus the old price over the old price. Substitute, simplify, and don't get a fright when there's a negative, because the moment you see a negative, you know that it is a decrease. And then, like similar to the house, if inflation is added, I can either calculate the 1.6% first and then add it, or add it to the percentage, and I found my value. Remember to round your answers to 2 decimals. Right, we continue.